Hello, everyone, to week 14 of the OSU Preview Podcast. I'm Alex Dusky, and I'm joined by Asa Lucas and Jace Andrews. Guys, how are you doing today?
Mr. Lucas.
I'm proud to be an American.
Where at least I know we can beat Iran.
Ooh.
Did you say Iran, sir? It's actually Iran.
Iran.
Sorry,
go.
I'm glad I learned something new today.
We're doing great. Absolutely. U.S. soccer plays today.
The real football. No, I'm just kidding.
Doing well. Thank you for asking.
All right. Well, Asa, you might be a little better after we give you your well-earned crown. You were our Pick'em winner. Jace, your last chance upsets did not pan out. So Asa is our winner. Jace got second, and
that
I got last.
That Oklahoma game scared me, by the way. I was watching that, and I was like, come on, McGuire, do me solid. Come on.
I would also just like to say that earlier in the semester for our sports reporting class, we had to do Big 12 hot takes, and my hot take was that OU would go 6-6, and I was correct.
Nice tiara there, sir. I'm glad it fits you well. It fits you well.
We'll post it on our social medias for everyone to see.
This feels where it belongs. This just feels right.
Yeah. Hey,
okay, so now Jace.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a bowl pick'em. I gotta win something
Jace,
here, man.
Okay, no. So if you watched the Poke Report yesterday, you know that I won the Poke Report pick'ems, and now listening, you know that Asa won the podcast pick'ems. So Jace, I think this means you take us both out to dinner.
This seems like treachery.
I think that's
treachery.
What's happening. Do you have any other thank yous that you'd like to?
Oh, of course,
say?
of course.
Speech.
Since I have a little bit of time here. First of all, I have to thank the one woman in my life who made all of this possible, my mother. She deserves a lot of the credit, almost all of the credit. I also want to thank Jace Andrews for his competition. He made me step up my pick'em game. If he wasn't here, I don't know if I would have been able to win.
I do want to say, not to interject, I did start like 0-5 and somehow finished second. So I mean, a battle's a battle, good sir.
Absolutely, and you look great with that silver medal.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal on you.
You forgot to thank your girlfriend Taylor Swift. So
she getting you tickets to her concert now?
We're not going to get into that right now. This is a cowboy football podcast, not my Taylor Swift podcast. You can check it out on Spotify under Asa B. Lucas.
Did you get tickets, Master?
Let's go ahead, Alex.
All right. Well, while we are an OSU podcast, there isn't, unfortunately, much OSU to discuss this weekend. If you want to see our opinions on the last two games and kind of how the season panned out for the Cowboys, you can listen to last week's podcast. So instead, we're going to talk about championship weekend. As a reminder, the selection show with the final playoff and bowl assignments will begin at noon on Sunday. We will have our final podcast of the semester airing at 7 p.m. on Monday evening with our thoughts on the playoffs and bowl predictions. And Jace, if you really want, we can do a bowl pick'em on that podcast as well.
There's an app we could do. I mean, we don't have to, but
so
who knows?
I do want to state that we are filming prior to the Pac-12 game happening. So when you're listening, you already know what happens, but maybe some of our predictions are going to be correct. So the plan for the podcast today is to just go through the Power 5 conference championships and just give our opinions on that, okay? So let's start off with the Pac-12 championship. It is number 11, Utah, taking on number 4, USC in Las Vegas. And it was the craziest way for Utah to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who didn't read up on it, it was a 3-way tie between Utah, Oregon, and Washington for second place. Step 1, it was a head-to-head battle. Not all 3 teams played each other, so that step is invalid. Step 2, the win percentage against common conference opponents. They were all 5-1. So proceed to step 3. Record against the next highest placed common opponent in the Pac-12 standings. They were all 1-1. So now, step 4 was the combined win percentage in conference games, which was basically just strength of conference schedule. And Utah had the highest strength of schedule, and they are in. Asa, what are your thoughts on this one?
This is a really interesting rematch for those that can recall. The reason why Utah upset USC this past season, USC's only loss on the season, is because when they scored in the fourth quarter, they went for 2. It was a really, risky call, but it paid off. And if there was anyone in the Big 12, or sorry, not the Big 12, the Pac-12, to take on and upset USC again, I put my money on Utah. I don't think Oregon has it. And Utah,
I do want to say, sorry.
Yeah.
Utah has a 61% chance to win, which I'm kind of shocked at. However, USC is favored by 2.5.
Yeah, because remember, Alex, a few weeks ago you were asking, I think it was
Baylor, TCU.
Baylor, and you were like, why is Baylor, how can they, and Baylor almost pulled off the upset.
Right.
These experts know what they're talking about.
Or is everything scripted?
Listen, this isn't a college football conspiracy podcast.
No, not even college football. The NFL, that Deshaun Watson's first game back is going to be against the Texans.
Oh, I know. I'm watching
Seems
that
a little
one. I might skip church to
personally.
even watch that one. Lord forgive me. But I think USC is going to pull this one out. Caleb Williams, just from how he played against Notre Dame last week, was unfreaking
Do you think he'll win the Heisman?
No, but I think he'll be top 3. For some, I'm just not hearing enough Heisman talk about him. He didn't get a lot of it early on in the season, so I think that's kind of gone against him. But he'll be top 3.
Jace, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, first of all,
and if Caleb Williams will win the Heisman.
Caleb Williams will win the Heisman.
That's okay.
I would put my money on that just because
who the other talks were Hendon Hooker, who's out, and Blake Corum, who's out.
There's one more big one that played
C.J. Stroud, and he
lost. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Max Duggan.
He's not getting the talk he deserves, but I still...
The TCU did sweep the Big 12 awards, though.
But here's the biggest thing, is that Caleb Williams, maybe doesn't get the attention that he probably should, but that's true for the entire Pac-12, not just Caleb Williams. But again, if you look at the stats, the only quarterback who's even close to Caleb Williams is Drake May, who is playing in the ACC championship game. But I would argue that the ACC championship game is getting less coverage than the Pac-12 championship game.
Would you argue, you say that, not necessarily Caleb Williams, but the Pac-12 as a whole, we've talked about this season how the Big 12 isn't getting the respect it deserves. Between the ACC, Pac-12, and Big 12, what is the order of, most attention given?
See, this year, I would argue it's ACC and then maybe Big 12 and Pac-12 just because of how many ranked Pac-12 teams there is. And the fact that the Heisman winner will be coming from USC, along with USC and UCLA leaving.
You're saying Pac-12 is the most overlooked or the most respected of the 3?
This year, respected. I think ACC is overlooked, but I think it's rightfully so.
Asa, you have a puzzled
look. I would counter
look.
that. I think the Pac-12, because of Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley, how highly ranked Oregon was coming into this, and Oregon got a lot of media attention from that Oregon State game too. I think looked at by the media, I would go Pac-12, Big 12, ACC.
That's what he said.
That's what I said, right?
Yeah.
Pac-12.
You said it backwards. He said it backwards.
Okay.
That's why I had to clarify. You said ACC first.
That was what you said from least to most, right?
No, I was going, folks. You got to forgive Mr. Andrews. He's had a long birthday week. So happy birthday this week to Mr. Andrews.
Birthday.
He's done a lot of partying. But I the Big 12 was always just looked over.
I think the ACC is more overlooked this year just for the simple fact.
Agreed.
The only team that ever is looked at is Clemson.
I think ACC still got more talks than the Big 12 did. I still think people got before Clemson lost to South Carolina. I think people talked about the ACC more, specifically Clemson.
Well, here's the problem. TCU has been talked about all year. So if you want to talk about comparing one team to one team, you got to talk about TCU. I mean, comparing team to team, TCU was talked about more than Clemson.
He's getting quite defensive for an opinion question.
I think Texas and Kansas State are probably talked about more than
Texas
UNC.
is talked about every week.
Correct.
Yeah, everyone loves to talk about
Anyway, getting back to the game.
So who do you have winning?
Utah has played in 3 of the last 4 championships. If you include this one, 4 of the last 5. And USC has also played in 2 of the last 6 games, not counting this one, 3 of the last 6. With that being said, I think there's a lot with Utah riding because they have experience. They've been there before. They won their first Pac-12 championship ever last year. But Caleb Williams and the wide receiver core of USC is just way too much for Utah to handle. I understand they beat them, but you have to remember the importance of playing at home field. And let's just say Utah fans love their football. I mean, we saw that from BYU. We've seen that from, Utah State even. When they have Jordan Love, they were packing stadiums. So it's a big difference, though, when you're playing in an NFL Las Vegas stadium where you're probably going to have a 70% majority USC fans. I've got USC winning, and I've got Caleb Williams winning the Heisman.
So you have Utah winning.
No, I'll clarify that. I have USC winning. If I was saying if there was a team in the Pac-12 to do it, it'd be Utah again.
Okay,
But
well,
like Mr. Andrews, I have USC.
I'm going with Utah.
See you later.
I'm going with Utah.
Oh.
So I will say USC later.
Oh.
All right.
I'm picking the upset. Well, it depends on what you're looking at. If the favoring, USC's favored, but if the chance to win, then Utah. So, I don't know.
Will the script happen? We'll find out.
We'll find out. Well, you listeners already know what happened.
We'll find out now. Check it.
So, the next conference championship, which I believe is arguably the least relevant conference championship, is the ACC. Number 9, Clemson taking on number 23, UNC. Clemson will not make it in the playoffs, even if they win. They have a 77% chance to win and are favored by 7.5. The over-under is about 64. Jace, do you want to go first?
I will go first because I think this is an interesting game for the simple fact that Clemson played North Carolina just last year, or excuse me, a couple of years ago in the actually it was a little longer than I thought. Sorry, it was back in 2015. But these two teams played in the conference championship then. But Clemson has won the conference championship a large majority of the time before most other people. There was Florida State from 12 to 14, but then from 2015 to last year, Clemson has won all but one. And they've been in all but one. And the one they wasn't in was last year, where Kenny Pickett had the fake slide. But I think this year, it's going to be an interesting game because you have Drake May, who I arguably think will be in New York as a freshman, which is insane. I mean, he'll be at that Heisman Award. He's not going to win it, but I actually like North Carolina in this game.
You're picking them? Or are you just saying you like them? 3, 2,
I'm going to go with North Carolina. I'm going to take the risk. I know that it's kind of risky, but here's my thing.
Does this have any family ties into your decision? You can be honest.
No, it does
not.
Okay. UNC has lost their last 2 games to Georgia Tech, and last week was NC State on a missed field goal in double overtime. Drake May's a good quarterback. He's not going to have 3 bad games in a row. And there's a little bit of pressure on DJ because, no offense, there's a guy right behind him looking to take his spot.
He is on a very short leash. I will admit that.
So who do you have winning?
I have, and this one will surprise Jace. Not really. I have Clemson winning this one. This is a game they're used to playing at. North Carolina hasn't been in a championship game in quite a few years, or an ACC championship game. And I think the pressure's going to get to them. North Carolina normally crumbles under serious pressure. And even though Clemson has been playing spotty, this is their game. They're comfortable here. They know what they're doing. And we're talking about quarterbacks having consecutive bad games.
Correct.
I don't see DJ having another one either. I got Clemson winning.
You want to have a trivia question real quick?
Sure.
I got a quick one. So back 2015 was the last time UNC was in that ACC championship game. They played a Big 12 team in a bowl. Can you name the bowl and team in 2015?
Which team?
UNC. The last time they were in the ACC championship, they went to
Baylor Sugar Bowl.
You got the team right, but not the game right.
Alamo Bowl, Baylor.
Cotton Bowl, Baylor.
No, it was the Camping World Bowl.
Oh.
Yeah. Now Cheez-It, but Camping World at the time. So.
As much as I would like to see UNC win, I have Clemson coming out on top. I just, like you said, it's their game. I think they're gonna win. But maybe Jace will be right. Get a pick 'em correct.
He's not normally, but he could be.
He could.
We'll see about that.
Moving on to the Big Ten Championship. We have an unranked Purdue taking on...
This is the jankiest.
What? This is the
jankiest.
No offense. I would rather watch the ACC game. I think that's going to be a better game than this one.
Well, hold on.
I didn't even get to say my full analysis. Taking on the number 2 ranked Michigan. Iowa blew their shot. Representing the Big Ten West,
rightfully so,
in their 24-17 home loss to the Nebraska Huskers, the 4-8 Huskers, who hadn't won a game since October 7th, where they only won by 1.
You ready for a crazy fact here? Crazy statistic?
Mm-hmm.
Purdue is 3-0 against AP top 5 teams under Jeff Brom.
Do you know who those top 5 teams were?
I could not pull it up for you.
It's okay. I have
3-0.
So I have a style about Michigan. They could win back-to-back conference titles for the first time since the 2003-2004 years, and break the single season school record with 13 wins, and clinch a second straight playoff bid. Michigan has an 89% chance to win. They are favored by 17. Asa, Lucas, who do you have coming out on top?
Oh, this is one of those games that I'm watching, and I would love nothing more than Purdue to pull off this upset. I really would. And I think Purdue will shock some people.
Do you want to pull it off to knock Michigan out of the playoffs?
That's part of it, yeah.
Okay. Or just
also,
want chaos?
Who doesn't love just a good underdog story in college football in general?
Everyone.
But Michigan right now, after that Ohio State game, they impressed me a lot. I take back everything I've said about Michigan up until this point in the season. Wolverines are taking this one by at least 2 scores.
Jace?
I completely agree. I think the only question mark that we had that was answered last week was, well, you lost your Heisman running back 2 weeks ago during the Illinois game. How are you going to recuperate? Mm-hmm. They got an even better guy in the backup at Donovan Edwards. He had 22 carries, 216 yards, and 2 tutties. I mean, come on. Michigan is stacked. I got to be honest. I thought Ohio State was it. I really think Michigan is it. And I have a legitimate thought that they could challenge Georgia.
Georgia? Okay, well, we'll get to that in a second. Wow. But I have Michigan coming out on top. I think that they will cover the spread, win by at least 17.
Well, let's just remember that Michigan played a number 13 ranked Iowa last year in the championship game and beat them 42-3.
Yeah, that was bad.
So I don't expect too much different things happen here.
Hey, but Purdue's 3-0 against top 5 teams.
Maybe Drew Brees will come back.
All right, moving into the SEC, we have number 14 LSU taking on number 1 Georgia. LSU lost to Texas A&M last week, 38-23, which dropped them substantially in the rankings. Georgia is looking to repeat the national title, and the SEC championship is just another trophy, according to the ESPN article I read about them. Bulldogs have an 83% chance to win and are favored by 17.5. There's no reason to not pick Georgia here, in my opinion.
Hold on. Let's see what Jace has up his sleeve. He always has some good metrics.
I have another trivia question with this as well after when we get to a point. But I can't go against Georgia for the specific fact that they made me wear a Texas shirt earlier this year. So I think that the one thing I will say, Georgia has not played that many amazing opponents besides Tennessee. But in that game, they rose to the occasion and just absolutely was dominant. I mean, you can look at the score and say, oh, well, they only went, but they were dominating it.
Do you really think that Tennessee team that was at the height of their season is equivalent to this LSU team that just lost embarrassingly to a 4-7 team?
Well, it's the SEC championship game. I don't care who you're playing. You're going to get hyped for it, right?
No, but I'm saying you said that Georgia hasn't played any good opponents besides Tennessee. So I'm saying, are you equating this current LSU team to that current Tennessee team?
No. All I'm saying is that they haven't had to get up for many games. That's why they almost lost to Missouri, because it's hard to get yourself up to go play Missouri. But in the SEC championship game, your emotions are going to be high no matter what.
Okay.
So I think Georgia's going to win. I will say I think it's going to be a lower score than most people expect. Like I think it may be like a 10-point victory.
I think the over/under is like 51, which is lowest of the 5.
I think that's probably fair. I'm going to say they win by 13.
And you got to give credit to the SEC committee for really helping Georgia out with the championship location being in Atlanta. So that's not going to be too far of a drive from Athens. A little bit, fill up on your gas tank, top it off. But I don't see why Georgia would lose this one. They have everything going for them in the season, and their defense just looks tough. Even with Missouri kind of scaring the SEC committee and the playoff committee, I got Georgia winning this one.
If Georgia loses,
they're still in.
They're still in.
What would they wouldn't be number 1?
Correct.
They'd be 4.
Okay. What's your trivia question?
So, over the past, I'll give you a specific year. Since 2015, there has only been 5 SEC teams who have made the conference championship, and it's kind of just rotated through those 5.
Okay.
Can you name me the 5 teams?
Alabama,
Georgia,
LSU,
Georgia.
That's 3, and there's 2 others.
Florida.
Yes, Florida.
Oh, good one.
Florida's made it 3 times, actually. And then this one has made it 1 time.
Auburn.
Yep. Auburn back in 2017.
Wow.
2015 is the year that I did move to the SEC.
2017 was the year Auburn was there.
But I'm saying more than the last 7 years.
Yes, 2015. Yes.
So I've been having to pay attention to those recently.
Yes.
Speaking of Alabama, if you listened last week, we talked about what are the odds Alabama gets in. Coming in at 6 last week, they don't think there's no chance.
Correct, unless TCU gets upset, Michigan gets upset, USC gets upset. Then Alabama will
then they'll get in.
Well, yeah, they probably also need. They need so much to happen.
Yeah.
And that leaves us to the final Power 5 conference, our own Big 12. Number 10, Kansas State taking on number 3, TCU. It's the battle of the purples yet again. Now, on the selection show on Tuesday, the announcers said that even if TCU loses, as long as it's not by 2 touchdowns or more, they will still make it into the playoffs.
I disagree.
Asa?
Who said that?
It was the selection committee, so the 3 guys from game day, and then they have their rotating guest.
Well, I mean, they're probably saying that to appease Big 12 fans, especially after Paul Feinbaum just tarnishing TCU in the Big 12 over and over again. I don't trust them.
I disagree. I think that if we were in a different conference, then yes. If Georgia loses and Michigan loses, I still think they could be 1-loss non-conference champs and they'd still put them in. But TCU is a 1-loss non-conference champ.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
I don't see that either.
Well, and here's the problem. If they lose, that means Ohio State didn't play. And so you're comparing TCU, who is now 12-1, who just lost to Kansas State and is not a conference champ, or Ohio State, who lost to Michigan as their 1 loss and is not a conference champ, who is also 12-1, or 11-1.
No, they'd be 12-1.
No, they're because TCU plays 1 extra game because of the championship game. So TCU is 12-1.
Oh, you're talking about Ohio State?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I don't see Ohio State not getting in that scenario.
Agreed. No, I agree with you on that one.
I will say, if TCU loses by a field goal with 2 seconds left, maybe that's still a possibility. But
that's what they also hinted at.
To be fair, historically, the Big 12 has not shown up in the playoffs. So I understand why there's been a prejudice against Big 12 schools with the committee for as long as the committee's been around. It makes sense to me. However, hopefully this TCU team can get a win in the playoff and help us out.
The Horned Frogs have a 54% chance to win and are favored by 2.5.
Another 2.5 one.
So, Asa, who do you have winning this one?
I have Mr. Sonny Dykes and the Horned Frogs taking this one. Even though Kansas State will come out swinging, and I'm even going to foresee and say that Kansas State's going to go into the game at half with a lead. I think TCU and Max Duggan are going to come back out and then take it home, and they'll be in the playoff, baby. Big 12.
Kansas State's preview article, the title was, "Where there's a will, uppercase will, there's a way."
Speaking of will, the last time these 2 teams played, it was 38-28.
And they played Adrian Martinez.
Adrian Martinez played, but he only played for 4 passes before Will Howard came in and lit it up in that first half. But then what happened in the second half?
He got hurt, right?
Correct,
they put the
and they had to bring in that freshman, and that's where everything tumbled.
Crumbled.
It was bad.
Are you going against TCU, both of you?
No,
or are
no,
you
no.
two?
No.
I'm not going to do that.
You love doing that. You love the fake, the pump fake.
Listen,
Yeah.
here's what I like to be devil's advocate.
He's just being a good analyst.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like to look at both sides, which is why I think Kansas State does have a chance. And I
do.
think the Big 12 may be one of the most interesting games.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this will be the best game of the 5, personally.
I also, though, could see after last week, this could be the least entertaining game. The way
TCU won 44-7?
It may have been
over
worse than
Iowa
that.
State?
It was bad against Iowa State. And we saw it. Iowa State's defense was immaculate this year. I mean, even against Oklahoma, they did not allow that many points. But TCU went into Ames and just absolutely wrecked them. Sorry, Texas Tech, not to take your line for TCU.
Wreck 'em.
But before I get into my pick, I do have another trivia for y'all. Listen, I got one for every game.
Alex Trebek.
I got a lot for every game. So, the Big 12 has the highest percentage of, first of all, bowl teams, but over the past, since the Big 12 championship game has been created, so 2017, we have the most amount of teams that have played in their game on the first time.
Wait, what? What?
That didn't come out right. So
what?
We have
the
the
highest
most
amount of-
first-time bowl championship game teams.
Like you're saying that we don't go to the same bowls frequently, like Alabama.
No. Like a different Big 12 team has been in the Big 12 championship every year since its inception.
Okay.
No, that was not.
Do you want to try and name year by year? So the first year is 2017.
We have to go year by year? Okay, let's go backwards. Okay.
Last year, who was the new team?
Well, hold on. We got to start with Kansas State and TCU.
Okay. But who was the new team?
This year?
One team of them has not been.
Kansas State.
Kansas State has not been.
Okay.
Then it was Baylor, Oklahoma State.
And we were the new team.
We were the new team, correct.
2020, was there one?
There was one.
Oklahoma and Baylor.
No, that was 2019.
Oh, it was 2019.
This team had a little
Oklahoma,
rough year.
Texas?
No, it wasn't Texas.
It was Iowa State, Baylor.
Yes, it was Iowa State, Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Then it was
Baylor,
OU, Oklahoma.
Yes,
2019.
Baylor was the new team.
Now I have no idea.
Then Oklahoma.
These were prior to my Big 12 years.
Oh, then there was Oklahoma, Texas.
That was the Red River, and that was Texas being the new team.
Yep.
And the first year was Oklahoma versus TCU.
So he didn't even let us guess the last one.
I knew we'd figure it out.
Yeah, but funny enough, the MVP of the 5 games that have been played, 4 of them are Oklahoma quarterbacks. So Baker, Kyler, Jalen,
sad
Spencer.
statistic.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Getting back into the Big 12 championship, as much as I don't want to, and as often as I've picked against them, I am going to go with TCU.
Yeah.
Good call, Alex. Good call.
I think as a Big 12 fan, you want a Big 12 team in the playoff. I hate that it's TCU.
Why do you hate that?
I just don't like them. They're a dirty team because...
What have they ever done to you besides being purple?
Hey.
We destroyed them last year, and now all of a sudden they're going to the playoffs. You know?
That was a year teams have time to improve, and we had time to get worse.
Sometimes when you, like TCU, they thought Gary Patterson was it, and
they did.
Man, Sonny Dykes has
really
really changed.
I know a lot of people don't like him. I'm a fan of Sonny
Just to clarify, I know that there was a Big 12 game before 2017, and then it got taken out. So just Kansas State has technically played one, but it was in 2003 when it was played in Kansas City.
No one was going to question you.
Okay, well,
don't worry.
I wanted to be a good analyst. I wanted to show that I knew.
Dot all your I's, cross all your T's.
Back in 2003, you want to know what they did?
What did they do?
They beat number 1 Oklahoma.
So they're going to beat number 3 TCU? All right. We have a couple more minutes left. So just some more general thoughts. The transfer portal is open. There have been no coaching changes yet from the Cowboys. And have there been any official transfer statements from the Cowboys?
No, but that's because you cannot, as an FBS, you can only, unless you are a grad transfer, you can't announce it until December 5th. That's why
So it's almost there. We'll find out.
Monday.
So then, the other things that are happening, and we'll get to the World Cup in a minute, Asa. Nebraska hires Matt Rule. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not a massive fan of the decision, but I get it. There's not a really appealing coaching market right now. And he brought Baylor out of mediocrity to relevance and to respectable program. So I understand why they're doing it. I think the contract is outrageous and egregious, but...
Do you know what it is? I was trying to find that. All I could find was that the Panthers are still... Oh.
I think they had to pay him, though, because of his contract. NFL, yeah. He had a
okay, while you're looking that up, Team USA plays in Qatar, I guess this morning. The game.
Big game.
They're actually playing
right
now.
Currently, I would assume, right, against the Netherlands. Can we win? Will we win?
Of course we can win.
America.
We have a lot of good potential in young players. Listen, Christian Pulisic is the man. Matt Turner is a phenomenal keeper.
Matt Turner has not allowed a goal in besides a penalty kick in the entire World Cup.
Tyler Adams is my superhero right now. I want to dress up as him for Halloween.
Tyler Adams is leading the World Cup in tackles.
I believe it, baby. U.S. is number 1.
Here's what's going to happen, man. We're going to beat the Netherlands. And then we're going to play the Socceroos.
Dude, the world is going to go upside down.
Argentina's going to freaking lose to Australia. It'll be USA and Argentina in the quarterfinals.
Australia.
Just to let...
I said that right?
No, you said Argentina.
Not Argentina.
Just to let you know, rules it was 8 years, $74 million, with $66 million guaranteed.
Wow.
They had to.
Well, we kind of covered our bases in the NCAA and worldwide. Do you guys have any other remaining?
I do.
Statement. Okay.
So it goes like this. It goes USA. That's what they're going to be doing. That's what they're doing right now.
All right. Well.
Matt Turner.
So, as a reminder, you're checking out all the conference championships today. Then tomorrow at noon, you're watching ESPN for the selection show. And then at Monday at 7 p.m., you are listening to us again for our bowl analysis. And then, unfortunately, you won't hear from us again. You'll hear from us at the bowl game, hopefully. And then you won't hear from us again until January. When we're back for maybe basketball season. I don't know. We'll continue this. Don't know what the topic of conversation will be, but we'll continue it. We'll at least have to do one recapping all the bowls.
Stay classy, Stillwater.
All right, well, thank you for listening to the OSU Preview Podcast. I'm Alex Husky, joined by Asa Lucas and Jace Andrews.
We appreciate all of you for listening. Thank you.
Have a great day, and as always...
Oh, no, I messed it up!
Have a great day, and as always,
Go Pokes!